Hello and welcome to Inspiring Courage podcast. And we have the lovely Tamsin here with us. Hello, Tamsin. Thank you for being my guest this afternoon.
Hello, lovely to see you looking so glorious in that wonderful garden of yours. So thank you for having me.
Not at
Thank
all.
you.
It's my pleasure. You and I met, I want to say about 2 years ago. And I remember
Yeah.
distinctly meeting you and thinking, oh my God, that's a lady that I want to be like. I definitely need to have this lady in my life and get tons of inspiration from her. You just had that presence about you. We've become very good friends, and I've been to a number of your programs, and you just deliver beautiful, beautiful lessons every time. So I just want to leave you to tell people what you want to share with them today. What is the nugget of wisdom you have for them? What's been the most influential in your life for changing your life for the better?
Okay. Cool. It's a big, big question and lots of little nuggets. And you asked me this, and I have dug deep to sort of work out what is the fundamental thing that has been the pivotal point of my life, or the thing that's made the difference. And it comes down to, I know this is about inspiring courage. It's about having the courage to find and use my voice and to step up and do stuff that I've never done before, to step out of that kind of fear bubble, the comfort zones that we all have. So it's finding your voice. Now, why that? I guess it goes back to being a very bubbly, fun-loving little girl in a kind of middle-class family, but in a very dysfunctional family, which I think most people come from, a dysfunctional family of some sort, where I was suppressed. There was an abusive environment where I wasn't allowed to speak. And if I did, I would probably be told that I was, I would be criticized and then told not to speak for the rest of the day. It was, there were all sorts of things that went on. And part of that was being, I don't mean physically gagged, but metaphorically gagged for much of my childhood. And what happened was it then became something I then went into my head and went into locking in emotions. And so we're in lockdown at the moment, and I talk about mental lockdown for a lot of people. It's not a good place to be. If you're going to live in your head, it's got to be a good place. And I lived in my head for years and years and years, and it became a real problem with anxiety, and then really panic attacks set in later on in years. And the fact that I always knew that I had something important to say, or things that were important to say, but never felt quite comfortable in case I was judged or somebody was going to criticize me. So these old patterns came flooding back in all the time, the fears of not being allowed to speak. And so what happened? The catalyst for this was very much, not that long ago. And, and I'm a lot older than some of you, like you. And I wish I'd found this, years before, but, better late than never. So it came to a point where I literally tipped over into depression, and something I'd never thought I would, and had a breakdown. This is about 6 years ago. The most awful experience. So I completely relate to anybody who's had that issue, or still going through it for that matter. And what happened was I went completely withdrawn into me. And the catalyst for me was getting so desperate. Two things happened. I got so desperate one day that I was going backwards. I had a son who needed looking after. Financially, I was going backwards. I couldn't function. I couldn't get up. I didn't have a job. I'd just come out of divorce. And I literally got so desperate, I just launched myself out of my chair in the sitting room where I was just staring at the window. And I picked up the phone to someone who owns a business magazine. And I asked, whether I could propose an idea of working for him. And in that moment, I literally broke two things. One is I broke that fear of being stuck, and I moved into action without thinking about it, without doubting myself, without wondering, without that sort of waiting till I was ready to. And I also spoke. I also expressed myself and the passion I had for doing something new. And I got the job. I got the contract, not the job, the contract. And that changed the trajectory of my life. And hence the reason I've met you. You know, hosting Women in Business Awards. Then I started to understand that I had a voice and that I could use it. And in doing so, actually speaking out and speaking from the heart, not the head, I found I was connecting with people, that people wanted to listen to what I was saying. And it meant that also I felt a huge sense of relief. And that was the catalyst for me realizing that, you know, you have a voice. You know, us as women particularly, and I'm not dismissing the men, we have a voice. And we need to start to learn to use it, because we have so much going for us. You know, people have passion of their ideas that are locked inside of them, and they're no good inside of them. You know, they have opportunity to connect and inspire other people with their stories. You know, storytelling is a massively important way of communicating to people and to move people as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a manager, or anybody aspiring to influence others. It's about being able to communicate with passion and purpose. And, you know, I found my purpose. And I was saying to you earlier, you know, I believe, you know, purpose of life is living a life of purpose. And if you have that, it's the rocket fuel for anything. That's the thing that gives you the enthusiasm to help you overcome your fears. I love the quote, which is, what's it got? A comfort zone is a beautiful place to be, but nothing grows there. You know, in order for us to feel good about ourselves, we tend to need to push ourselves a little bit. So that's, for me, was finding my voice and be able to learn, and I'm still learning. You know, through this lockdown, I have found so easy to go back into the old ways of being locking myself in my head. And in doing that, it can stifle creativity and really affect you mentally and physically. So, you know, what I want to do, and my mission, if you like, is to, with the Academy, with Raw Talks Academy, is to really enable women, empower women by helping them to find their voice, to speak up, to get heard, to get seen, to become more visible, and to really become a woman of influence that they want to be, and to get ahead. So, you know, that's my mission, and that's come from a place of, I think, where a lot of people come from is pain. But out of pain comes amazing stuff. You know, through adversity comes equal or greater benefit in most cases. And we're seeing a lot of that in the lockdown situation, I think, is people are finding what it is about them that they can get out of their comfort zone, forcing themselves out.
That's right. And you do it so beautifully, you know, as I say, you speak with such passion. And I know for sure that you have changed a lot of lives, because I have been to a number of your programs, as I say, you know, lovely networking events that you run, and you move people. It's, you know, it's palpable how people are taken by you. And you are right. It is the powerful storyteller that you are that kind of gets people outside their heads. And that is the main thing, I think, isn't it, for especially a lot of intellectual people that live inside their heads. It's for them to get outside their head and almost kind of, you know, feel it in their gut and kind of say what they want to say. So the other thing that I really loved when we were talking earlier was that the imposter syndrome is so big in all of us. You know, no matter how far you've traveled, no matter how much you know about the power that you have in you, that imposter syndrome is very alive in all of us. And we do kind of have a roller coaster of, I'm feeling great today. I'm feeling that I can go and inspire people. Oh my goodness me, do I feel worthy? Am I even worthy to go and inspire? Who am I to tell people to live a better life? And then, something happens, we have a conversation, and you kind of, pick yourself up again. So that again highlights the importance, that beautiful network that you had. You went to your network of supporters. You went to one person who championed you, and you proposed that you would do something, and the trust was such that you were taken on, and look at the journey that you've come on. And that is purely because, and we talked about being judged. That's something else we talked about, that by being so outspoken, because both of us are very outspoken, and sharing stories, we have discovered that voice very recently. Kind of went along that kind of personal revolution journey at the same time, or similar times anyway. And the side effect of having found our voice, I guess, is that we do repel some people because we're too strong for them, we're just too woo, maybe, we're just not right. But then again, we inspire enough people for us to keep that purpose front of mind and think, okay, for every person that I repel, I might, inspire somebody. And that's our purpose, for people to actually think that there is a better life out there for them if they want to go and get it. And again, by sharing stories is showing people how to get it, to invest in yourself, to kind of, find a community that supports you, find where the gaps are, where the, the gaps in your knowledge, skill, attitude, all of those, and start building on those. So much you've shared with us. I'm so grateful that you agreed to have a chat.
I was just going to say, this is about, again, the journey has been about taking off layers of masks.
Oh, goodness me.
And, that's another subject.
That's another
really,
subject.
It's a
we
big
have to
topic,
talk about that. Absolutely.
Being vulnerable. So when, you're doing what you're doing and what we're doing and getting ourselves out there, and in order to be more visible, you have to allow yourself to be more vulnerable. And I think Brené Brown sort of sums it up by saying courage starts with showing up and allowing yourself to be seen, and not just physically, but emotionally to be seen. So, that's being brave, and it's about being bold. And I guess it's about being better.
I can't wait to speak to you about that one. That's going to be an interesting subject to talk on as well.
Love to. I've had a lot of those masks.
Perfect. And so have I. And so, so has everybody else. But again, it's about being courageous enough to admit it first to ourselves, and then to the community that we show ourselves in. So self-awareness. For me, I think the first step is self-awareness. Are you aware of who you are and the masks that you wear, the different armors that you put on? So that's definitely a conversation for next time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all. It's my pleasure. And I can't wait to have you again.
Thank you, Vafa.
Take care.
Look forward to it.